Hey everybody, it's GoblinX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today we're going to be playing another premiere draft of Edge of Eternities. Magic Gatherings take on a space-themed set. Without further ado, let's get into the pack one. Pick one. What is our rare here? We got a Zoophyte Osteoharmonist. Tap, return a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. It is now a skeleton with no abilities. Activate only as a sorcery. Well, I mean, it does have to survive on the board for an entire turn, but after that, tap and reanimate the biggest creature in your grave every turn. It does take away all the abilities of whatever you're reanimating. So if you have, like a 2-1 with a bunch of other text like this thing, then it's just a 2-1 with no stats, but still got power and toughness, still can beat down. I feel like the Osteoharmonist looks pretty powerful. Some other great options are the Grav Ship here for value play, Orbital Plunge for removal, and Station Monitor is a really nice build around for the blue-white double spells deck and a very powerful card, but that's what we did literally yesterday, so I don't really want to do the same deck twice in a row. We'll see if we can't play something in black today with the Osteoharmonist. Really nice pick number 2 as well. It's a good follow-up for our first pick because we've got the 1/1 Death Toucher for 1, we got the cheap Tragic Trajectory removal spell, and we have a Hissing Quagmire if we want to take a green-black dual land that can also turn into a creature and trade off with anything because it turns into a Death Toucher. So these are all pretty nice follow-ups to the Osteoharmonist. There's off-color stuff that's decent too, but the on-color stuff is strong enough to just take one of those. I think I'm going to take Tragic Trajectory. Void is a pretty powerful ability that's not super difficult to trigger, so this could be just a 1 mana -10/-10, as long as a permanent left the battlefield this turn or you warp something, which is the mechanic of the set. You get to kind of play a creature early, but then it leaves the battlefield that same turn, and then you cast it again later. Grav Kill is another solid removal spell. Voidforged Tyrant is a fine, or Voidforged Titan is a fine card draw engine as well. But I like Grav Kill a lot. Takes some more efficient removal. There's also a really nice dual land here. Godless Shrine. The Shock lands got reprinted in Edge of Eternities, which is pretty sweet. But in draft, that's not incredibly important. We'll just grab the Grav Kill. Pick 4 now, nothing left in black. There's like a Thoughtseize kind of spell that's not the greatest in draft. Off color, we have Plasma Bolt for more efficient removal. That looks fine by me. The Mechan Assembler can be pretty good too. There's a lot of artifacts in the set. Build a deck around triggering this every turn that it's out. Doesn't trigger the turn you play it, like by itself, so it is a 5 mana 4/4 that can then like die before it makes any 2/2s, so it's not like absolutely incredible, but it can really pop off, so that's another option too, but I'll just grab the Plasma Bolt there, keep taking some good removal. Pick 5, bunch of very filler black and red cards here. My favorite of these is the Roving Actuator. You do have to get a Void trigger from it and have a 1 or 2 mana value instant or source in your grave, but if you do, you get really, really good value off of this card. 4 mana for a 3/4 and then cast a Tragic Trajectory or a Plasma Bolt in the same turn out of your grave is really, really nice. We already have 2 cards that work really well with it, so I don't mind trying to get that to work if we can. That said, now there's no black spells. The red spell's pretty much unplayable, but there's a really good green-black card here that also works well for a self-mill and reanimator strategy, which our black rare works well with. So the Brood Tender, I think, makes a ton of sense out of this pack. Specimen Freighter is a solid spacecraft, but Brood Tender looks really nice if we can push to the green-black self-mill deck. The red and the black spells are very mediocre again. So now we could get another card deeper into green with the Biosynthetic Burst, which is a strong combat trick on any of your beefy creatures. Reach, Trample, Indestructible, +1/+1 counter, and you untap it, you can kill something out of nowhere sometimes. Now we have the Hole Carver, which is a fine early creature that trades off, ends up in your graveyard quickly for the cards that care about your graveyard. So I do like the Hole Carver. Like it better than the Greenhouse. This is a really slow Spacecraft. It's also one of those cards that's a little bit awkward because it's only really good when you're already in a very good position, when you already have a ton of creatures on board. Then it's like, yeah, I'm getting so many counters off this, but that's like because you already have a bunch of creatures, you're probably already winning that game or already in a good position. This is an easy Ice Cave Crasher. I like Kov Landseeker quite a bit, actually. So that's kind of late for that. We could still be black-red or black-green. We didn't see much good red for a little while, but a pick 10 Landseeker Could be either direction here. Guess I can play a Temporal Intervention for now. Alright, pack 2, pick 1. We did get a red rare, but you have to have a ton of artifacts for it to work. It keeps eating the artifacts out of your grave to deal damage equal to its power to any target. So the first time it eats an artifact, deal 2 damage to any target. Next time, 3 damage to any target. It's really nice. That would make us commit to red, though, and we need to draft a bunch of artifacts. Which there are artifacts in every color in this set, but there's not like an insane amount in black-red, I think. Blue's really the most artifact heavy. Yeah, we already have 2 artifacts and that's it. Still an interesting, very powerful card. We could alternatively just take the safest pick, which is Tragic Trajectory. We know we can play that because we're definitely in black. But there's also the Glacier Godmaw, which is an absurd finisher for the green decks. I think I'm going to go for Godmaw here, and I'm going to go in the other direction. I'm going to go for this green-black deck, because the Godmaw is also really good with our Reanimator spells, as just a really expensive creature that we could bring back for super cheap. And I just like the Godmaw a lot. So Golgari's Self-Mill it is. Diplomatic Relations is a fine green removal spell over these mediocre black creatures. And I suppose the timeline color isn't horrific, because you can keep bringing it back. It's actually kind of okay when we were doing some self-mill too. Maybe timeline color over diplomatic relations. We don't have to take relations as highly when we are a black deck. I just took it anyway because my brain farted. Yeah, we could have taken that too. Recast it from the grave now and then. Wow. Well, this pack's pretty bad for black and green. Bad enough that I'm speculating on red. I don't think I'm playing a second Biosynthetic Burst. I'm okay with just 1 copy, but that is the best black or green card in the pack. No, I'm going to lock in here. Let's stick to our green. Alright, we got a second opportunity to take that timeline color if we want it. There's also a Tenderfoot for another 2-mana creature. The Caesarean Voidborn's okay. Yeah, I'm just going to take the timeline color. The one thing I don't really like about the timeline color is the fact that it costs double black. That does make it so you're not always casting it on turn 2, because you're going to have opening hands that are like a swamp and 2 forests. And then you're stuck off of that color for quite some time. But it is good when you get it cast. Here's a Galactic Wayfarer, which is a great one. Very good with the Godmaw, helping us ramp up into that big spell. Which gives us a 3/3 and a Lander token. We can use that Lander token to get more mana. Lander tokens also help you splash, so if we get any more Lander token stuff, we could splash in like a Chinook here, off of some red. But we could also just take another Hole Carver or a Thawbringer, those would be fine here. I'm gonna grab a Hole Carver. Pick 7, Depressurize is a pretty efficient removal spell against the small creatures. Would like to not play the Meltstrider's Gear if I can avoid it. And the Temporal Intervention. We need like 10 more playables. We want them to be mostly creatures as we move through this next pack and a half. Pick number 8. Beamsaw Prospector, just a filler 2-drop that can ramp us up later, looks fine. Remember the Blade of the Swarm being a little bit dirtily. Yeah. I mean, sometimes when you do get rid of their warped spell, it can be pretty good, but 4 mana 5/3 is not a very good stat line. Trades down into 3 mana 3/3s or 2 mana 3/1s even. Probably not going to be good Embrace Oblivion deck, but if we get enough Lander tokens, you can sacrifice your Lander token to this, and then it's perfectly reasonable. Now, we've got a couple now, but not so excited. You know, I might actually just take a Nebula Dragon. I think Nebula Dragon is incredibly splashable, because you can definitely end up cracking a Lander token by the time that you reach 7 mana, and you only need to crack 1 Lander token to get that single mountain that you put in your deck. So I'll actually just run a random Nebula Dragon here, I think, potentially. Wheel the Comet Crawler, and this random 4/4. We do just need more random filler creatures, so we'll put them in for now, but hopefully we get better stuff, and we did. We opened up better stuff with the Mightform Harmonizer. 4 mana 4/4, landfall whenever land enters, double the power of creature control till end of turn, and it's got the warp for only 3 mana. So you can warp it out, play a land, and double somebody else's power the turn you play it. Save it for later. Ooh, that'll be consistent. We got a second copy of the Siege Ship Brood Tender. A little bit more self-mill and a little bit more reanimation. It's the other thing we could do with Nebula Dragon. We don't even need the red source if we're picking it up with a Brood Tender. Or an Osteoharmonist. However, if we pick it up with an Osteoharmonist, it's a 4/4 with no abilities, but still. Pick 3, we got the Social Engineering, which is solid. Getting a bunch of 2/2s out. There's also the Gene Pollinator, which is really nice and helps get the dragon in. I do like the use Social Engineering a lot, though, especially when you have lander tokens, which we do. Pick number 4, another Ice Cave Crasher. We do actually want a pretty high creature count, and we want beefier ones, so I like that for its stat line overtaking the Sammy's Curiosity. Survey Mechan's a really fun build around when you get a mana of every color, when you have that many lander tokens that you can do so. I don't think we're quite at that level to go for that. We could also go for Tanook, though. We're already splashing red a little. Tanook is an earlier red play. I'm just going to take the Crasher and get more beef. More beef to reanimate. Do we try? Do we try to go all the way and reanimate a Bygone Colossus? That seems a little extra risky, because if we draw that, it's going to be stuck in our hand really badly. I don't think I want to go for that. I'll take another Ice Cave Crasher. Third Brood Tender. All right, well, maybe 3 Brood Tenders is consistent enough to try to run a 9-mana 9/9 in the deck. Definitely consistent enough to run another Nebula Dragon. We'll just run 1 or 2 mountains and 4 ways to reanimate them. 3 Brood Tenders for good ways to reanimate them, and then 1 Osteoharmonist for a kind of mediocre way to reanimate the dragon since you don't get its enter effects. I'm not going to play the Skittermaw. I'm also not going to play both bursts. Got something else here. Graveblade Heavy. Maybe Comet Crawler and maybe a Beam Saw. None of these are all that good. I guess since I'm splashing red, we could be throwing these roving actuators in. But I've only got a couple 1 or 2 mana or less instant sorceries anyway. Doesn't feel great. Dang, no respect for Survey Mechan. I like that card. All right, well, built the deck as I went there in that last pack. Just cut a bunch of stuff, and we've got a nice little green-black Reanimator deck with a mountain for our lander tokens for Nebula Dragons, but we'll be reanimating them a lot with Brood Tenders. Looks like a pretty fun, pretty consistent strategy. We'll see how it plays out for us as we hop into the gameplay. All right, here we are on the draw for game 1. Very solid hand here. We don't have the red source for Nebula Dragon, but we grab it off the Wayfarer. We can do some reanimating too. We could also just top deck the red source. That works too, I guess. Playing against a green-red deck, which is kind of the landfall archetype. Uses a lot of the lander tokens to trigger these abilities over and over again. They could have the +1/+1 counter trick. That'd be relatively bad for me. And I have another Brood Tender, and I don't mind getting them to spend a card here to get that off the board. And it's a free 2 points of damage if I don't take that block, if it's like a bluff. Okay, it's just in a full-on entire removal spell. That's a really fine trade. Like, I was already trying to reason, like, is it worth it to trade into the +1/+1 counter combat trick? Because then they permanently get more stats on the board. And I think even then it would have been worth it. But especially if it's like a full-on removal spell. And then once again here, this trade I'm even more happy with. I don't really care about the Wayfarer. Yeah, get rid of the Biosynthetic Burst so we don't have to deal with it later. Trying to save something better. If I cast this Brood Tender now, I theoretically reanimate something next turn. So let's go for the Brood Tender here. Over the Harmonizer. Ooh, reanimate an Austere Harmonist and just start bringing everybody back at this point. Unfortunately, Nebula Dragon only does 3 damage. It's not going to be able to clear out this 4 toughness card. But that's still pretty cool. I will finally take 3 points of damage, happily. Germinating Worm, getting warped in to gain some extra life, but they can't cast it till they have 5 mana. Okay. Pick up an Austere Harmonist. This is a sorcery-only ability. I don't have to tap it, though. And I can start getting a bunch of skeletons. No blocks. Alright, this is going to be a fun turn. Hardcast the Harmonizer. Boom. Double boom. Yeet. Harmonist is also only a sorcery. Give me a 3/3. Land Seeker for our opponent. They've been stuck on mana for quite a while, which has really helped us out. But they've found their 4th land now, and then the Land Seeker can get more. Does anybody have Trample here? Nobody's got Trample on this board. So I guess buffing the Prospector so that it can attack in to the Terrabotanist and shooting the Land Seeker. And there's a concession from our opponent. They are over it. Should probably just attack with all 3, because if the Wayfarer dies, the way the Austere Harmonist works, it doesn't have what is that counter called? They made a counter that makes it so... Finality counter. It doesn't have a finality counter, a counter that makes it exile itself when it dies. So, like, if the Wayfarer dies and these hit for 8, then main phase 2, I just bring it back. Get a 3/3 here. So yeah, we could just attack all but the Harmonist. Alright, gross stuff that game. Opponent was just having a really bad time. They just did not have enough mana to really do anything. And we got to reanimate a bunch of stuff, so our deck really got to do its thing, and we are 1-0 heading into game 2. Alright, here we are on the draw again for game 2. This time with no green mana, which is pretty concerning. I'm going to get a little greedy with it because we got 2 castable spells and they're both defensive. We have an early Death Toucher and we have an early removal spell. So that hopefully keeps us alive long enough to start drawing some lands. There's a Swamp, which is a pretty good first land to draw, so that we can play the Timeline color here. We don't need the green source till later, because our green cards are a little more expensive. This thing does have haste, and I almost forgot that, and skipped past, and I love our opponent's lands. They got the dinosaur lands, the Jurassic Park lands, not even. Oh, now I hate their lands. Why is the swamp different? I guess they don't like the Jurassic Park swamp. Timeline color for Beamsaw Prospector is just a good trade. We just warp it back. Warp. Warping it right now so that I can recast it forever next turn instead of just temporarily for 1 turn. Maybe it was worth holding it in exile so that I could warp it later, and the turn that I warp it I get the -10/-10, but I kind of forgot about the Void. I forgot Warp helped the Void. Why is the swamp the odd one out? The forests are Jurassic Park 2. Siege Ship Agrarian has arrived, which gives them more lander tokens, gives them +1/+1 counters onto the board. So that's going to be some good ramp stuff, but we've hit the green source. Set up some diplomatic relations with that Agrarian just to make sure they're not doing any nonsense with it. That'll slow me down a tiny bit, but I think it's worth it to slow them down as well. And that was just the combo of having a Death Toucher with a green removal spell. Because the green removal spell has the creature deal damage equal to its power. If it has Death Touch, doesn't matter what the power is, it's always going to kill the thing. Mechan's really good here. Sacrifice that lander token to draw a card. now. Hmm. If I play Brood Tender, it's ready to reanimate something next turn, but there's nothing to reanimate. But I could play Brood Tender and Kohler, so I think that's fine. Take a little gamble. What do we got? No creatures. Well, the gamble didn't work. I've got Timeline Color as an endless trump blocker, though, and if I trump block with the Timeline Color, then I get to Void with Tragic Trajectory next turn and kill anything I need to with -10, -10. Oh no. Synthesizer Lab Ship. I don't remember exactly what it does, but I know it's really strong. It makes one of their artifacts a 2/2 flyer every turn. So it's a 2/2 flyer for really cheap, and then eventually it's also a 4/4 flying Vigilance that keeps making the lander token a 2/2 flyer that whole time. That's really good. And they're just stationing it up. Getting it to the 4/4 stats. Biosynthetic Burst will kill it thanks to the reach. Can't trigger Void here. And I have no creatures in grade for Brood Tender, so I can't use that. I want 2 mana to have Biosynthetic Burst up, but if I hold it up, I don't get to play Ice Cave Crasher. But also I'm taking a bajillion damage next turn if I don't. So I suppose I'm holding it up here and just being sad I don't get Void. I guess the Land Seeker gets to hit me here. I probably should have actually attacked with everybody since Biosynthetic Burst untaps as well, and I'm going to have to use it on the Death Toucher. This way maybe they don't attack with Mech and stop a little bit more damage. Alright, if they've got a removal spell, it's awful for me. They do 2-for-1 me here, but this is my only hope to kill the lab ship. We don't really have any other option. Yeah, it happens. Choose to crack the lander instead of hitting me for 2. Fair enough. Another green source getting towards that God Maw. Can reanimate my Death Toucher, but that's not doing it. Please kill this. Let's go. You. Okay, I have to keep the Crasher because I don't think I have time for Brood Tender. If I just top deck a land for Godmaw here. Just play that. But I already just don't have blocks, whichever one I keep. Against 8 power. They didn't attack though. Oh, that was such a bad draw. A 7 mana card again. Yikes. I shoot myself for 2 and don't even get another blocker if I play Kohler again. Well... that was a really important turn for a land. No attacks with Mech and still. We are getting a lot more breathing room than I think that we should be right now. No counterspell, no counterspell. Let's go. No whammies. They have 8 power on their board. I feel we send this. They take the trade. Here goes. Top deck a land, top deck a land, top deck a land. Oh, board wipe. Oh, God, no. Oh, God. Top deck of land? Top deck of land still wins. No. Oh, we got bombed hard. The 0 point ballad. Blow everybody up, but they get to reanimate something. Now we're dead. If we top decked a land, we still would have won, because then we could play the Godmaw, play the land, and they would be forced into chumping and going to 1 life. Dang. Yeah, I have no reach. Kohler puts me to 1. They don't even have to block it. Even if they did, they just eat it for free. Yeah, we don't have an out. God, that was so close. A land from the win there, but they are going to get us in the end. That is 1-1 heading into game 3. All right, here we go again. Game number 3 now. We are 1-1. This draft could go any way from here. Could go poorly, could go great. We've had a lot of great drafts lately. Is that a good omen, or is our luck catching up to us? We'll find out now. We've got a 2-drop, 3-drop, and 4-drop in this opening hand. We have all 3 of our colors. This is a pretty great start to any game of Magic, I think. I don't know how you get the Avenger title, but that's pretty cool. I've been saying for a while, I feel like they should add more titles every set that you can get by doing like set-specific challenges. At the very least, something generic like the name of the set and then like fan, so you can like show off what your favorite set is or something like that. Or at least whatever plane it is, like Innistrad fan, Kamigawa fan. They would name them something cooler than that, but you know what I mean. Represent your favorite plane. Amonkhet fan. Bolas worshipper. Gotta get some more titles in this game. And apologies if you have heard or seen me sucking on cough drops during the videos the last couple days. It's better than the alternative, where I'm coughing the entire time. Oh, where did these lands come from? Oh, these are really pretty. There's so many cool lands in this game. They do a great job with them. Dang. Unfortunately... Oh, it is when it becomes tapped or dealt damage. Nice. So whenever I want another lander token, I can just attack with Prospector. I'm going to save it for now because I could end up wanting to chump block with it, and I'm not going to have the mana to use the lander token that it makes for now anyway. But it's really cool that whenever I want to, I can just attack and get another lander token. There's the Wormwall Sweeper. It's a spacecraft, so it doesn't do anything by itself. They've got to station it up with 4 power worth of creatures over time. Another Cryo Shatter. Start beating down with the Ice Cave Crasher. Virus Beetle. Oh no, my lands. I could discard the Kohler because I can warp it anyway. I don't know if I'm going to need all these lands, but then I'm not down a card at all. I can spend 2 life to keep all these lands, basically. It's got haste anyway, so the fact that I'm like warping it and then doing stuff later doesn't matter either. We can double lander token here, so I definitely didn't need these lands, but still. Might as well keep the extra card if I can when I'm not under any life total pressure. We drew all 2 of our mountains this game. Kind of crazy. In the top 10. Alright, they're down to 11. I probably should have gotten double swamp there, since I do have a double black spell warped right now. That could be pretty expensive. Nanoform Sentinel. That's really good at stationing. Whenever it becomes tapped, they untap another target permanent. So they can station with it, get a mana back, or untap another creature to help station as well. 3 damage. Down to 15. Harmonizer makes me wish I held on to those lander tokens, because we could have an explosive turn with that guy. Alright. Still an explosive turn with that guy. I spoke too soon. Turns out getting an additional 5 power out of nowhere is just enough to lethal them anyway. So we'll take it. That's 2-1 heading into game 4. Alright, here we are on the play now for game number 4. We do not have double black for our Osteoharmonist, but the rest of the hand looks pretty solid. Our turn 3 play is going to be getting a little 2-2 off of our Social Engineering. I guess our turn 2 play is a Hole Carver then. Social Engineering is a weird one, because it's important to remember while you can warp it for 2 technically, that means that you warp it out on turn 3, because it doesn't do anything until you play a land, so you need to make sure you're doing it when you haven't played your land yet. Which means you wait for turn 3. Did not get the second black for the zoo, so we will play the engineering. In fact, we haven't drawn any lands yet, which is a little awkward because we drew another 7 mana play, so we've got some expensive cards in this hand and a landfall card that wants us to draw more mana. Wayfarer is not the worst driver, but it's not exactly what I was looking for. They might trade Scrap Bond to Hole Carver. That'd be a decent trade for them, so the Hole Carver doesn't trade up later. Take it all. Alright, here's Wayfarer. Not a basic land, but about the second best substitute. The best substitute for hitting a basic land would have been the 1 mana card, the Sammy's Curiosity, because then I could play that, get the lander, and crack the lander immediately, but I do still get a lander for later, which is nice. Starfield Shepherd's a really nice value play. They warp it out and get a land, you can hardcast it and get a land. You can also get 1 mana creatures off of it, but there's not a ton of excellent 1 mana creatures. Our late game is really good, so I think I should take these early trades even if they don't look particularly favorable. Because we're trying to get all the way to like 7 mana. Okay, that doesn't even change this. Okay. They're over it. They're tilted, I guess. They misdid the math. I'll take it. We were a little stuck on mana there, so they could have still had a really good game ahead of them. And this is still at equipment, so they can re-equip it. It's not the worst punt in the world, but sometimes it just happens. That is going to be 3-1 now, heading into game 5. All right, here we are on the draw for game number 5. There's that Sammy's Curiosity I was talking about last game. One of our ramp spells. Playing against a green-blue player. There's the Hemosymbic Might. I definitely know what that does. Okay, whenever it becomes tapped, it buffs somebody else. Play the Brood Tender then. 3 toughness card that Might cannot attack through. Green, blue, and white. Psionicist is a really excellent card. It makes their second spell each turn cost 2 less to cast. So it's kind of like a Soul Ring on a 2/4 body, where you get 2 extra mana every turn. It's huge ramp. If I use Lander now, I can Brood Tender next turn, but we don't have a big creature engrave for Brood Tender anyway, so I'll go Prospector, then Crasher, then Lander, probably. Psionicist is unfortunately just going to pop off for a turn, so they're probably going to have a wide board, some cheap spells getting cast here. Sky Stinger. Thawbringer. Yep, that's a double spell, some beefy creatures. Luckily, they're not that beefy. That wasn't the worst turn in the world, especially considering the Thawbringer only has 2 toughness. Our Prospector can deal with that. Draw a Timeline Kohler. Well, now that they only have 2 cards left in their hand, I'm less concerned about the Psionicist, so I was considering just grab killing it immediately here, but they're almost out of stuff to double spell with it anyway. Just let them flood the board here. Save the grab kill for a giant creature later on the top end. Ice Cave Crasher of their own. Not exactly a giant creature at the top end, but big enough to be pretty concerning. I just trade into Thawbringer and then reanimate Crasher. That's not even that good. Guess I'll just sit on this grab kill. Edge Rover. That doesn't really matter. Giga Storm Titan. Just a lot of 4/4s over there. The board's getting wide enough that I'm going to be pretty concerned if I don't start killing things, but I'd like to crack this lander. Okay, now I can cast a Kohler and still have Grav Kill up. Got Brood Tender up too, but still nothing to Brood Tender back. You know what I just realized? I'm very happy with how this draft went. Like, even if we lose every game from now on, because of one specific thing. Our first draft was blue-white, and now this draft is green-black-red. We've played every color. Oh. Biomechan Engineer is a fantastic card. 2 mana 2/2 plus a lander token is already an exceptional deal, and then it gives you an absurd mana sink. You draw 2 cards and get a robot every turn off that thing, so I'm just going to kill that one. It's not immediately impactful. They only have 6 out of 8 mana after that lander token, but once they get there, that's going to be completely unbeatable. I'm not exactly sure how our board is holding back their entire board, but I'm happy that it is. I haven't done the math, but I feel like they could be swinging somehow. Land off the top. I'm concerned they may have started doing the math with how long they're considering attacking me here. Okay, they're not going to do it. Oh, baby, that's savage. Well, GG. This card is so dang good. So filthy. Whee! Here we go. They double block the Godmaw with 2 4-power creatures. We just reanimate it with Brood Tender next turn, and there's like no shot for our opponent. What an excellent top deck, really. They are going to kill the Godma, so we'll Brood Tender it back next turn. I probably could have attacked with Brood Tender as well. I'm trying to think how they would kill Godma and Brood Tender. 2 4-power creatures on the Godma. 3/3 and a 2/4 on Brood Tender. Yeah, no, I don't think I should have sent Brood Tender in. We would have dealt a chunk of damage, but it wouldn't have been lethal, and they could have killed Godma and our way of reanimating Godma. They're down to 6. Pass turn, and here we go. Come on back, my friend. Next turn I can play a new Brood Tender and reanimate it again. I'm so happy I ended up taking this Godma because that card just works so well in a triple Brood Tender deck. It's pretty gnarly. Bounce spell. Bounce spell and they get a little flyer. Rude. We're still at 22 life with a third Godma to go. We're chilling. They're going to go to 1 life here, keep a Scion Assistant a 1/1. Okay. Apologies for the Discord boop. Maybe I can get the scoop here. Actually, it doesn't even matter if they scoop, because we are going to get haste. We do have enough mana. So the gigantic trample haster kills them regardless. Oh yeah, and I haven't played land per turn? Wow. Could have sent the Crasher out first. It's sequencing poorly, but they have no cards in hand, so this is like super, super mega lethal regardless. Mute my Discord. Apologies. Alright, there's a concession from our opponent. We are 4-1 now. Alright, here we are on the play for game number 6. We are 4-1. Positive record of the draft, no matter where things go from here. And we've got a reasonable opening hand. We don't have black mana, but we have Sammy's Curiosity. I'm curious if we'll draw a swamp. Nope. But Curiosity will get us there. Boop. Now we've got all of our colors. We're playing a little bit off curve. Just play the Crasher next turn, skipping our 1 and 2 mana cards, but you know how it is. Starfield Shepherd, grabbing a land probably, but it could grab a 1-mana creature too. Does grab a land. I don't mind diplomatic relations on the dock worker drone while they don't have another creature to put the counter onto. Ooh, but I drew a timeline color though. And I don't really need to kill that. I can save my removal for something bigger then at that point. Well, there's their own diplomatic relations on the Brood Tender. Sad day. Galactic Wayfarer is the draw. We can play that and our relations here. Or I could just play the Kohler again. Just play the Kohler again and have it around permanently this time, unless they want to trade off. They're down to 13, so I like getting the haste out and just pushing damage here. They're down to 6. Things are looking good, especially with an extra removal spell in hand. There's their 5th mana. They could play the Shepherd at worst, but that wouldn't help too much. They play a Sunstar Lightsmith. If they've got a 1-drop alongside that, that is very good. Draw another card and buff it up. And they do, but they don't have another creature, which is really, really bad for them. That means they're dead to diplomatic relations. Boop that away. They have 1 blocker up. They block the 4/4 with the 4/4, takes 6, and that is lethal. Not to mention the trample. I guess I can't mention the trample because that's actually a 6/6, so no trample. All right, 5-1 it is. We are at a very positive record now, and we are in the money no matter what. All right, here we are on the draw for game number 7. Reasonable opening hand here. Lead with the Brood Tender. I should have played the Swamp first. So if I drew another Swamp, I could play Timeline Color first if I want. But that was going to be really unlikely. Biomech Engineer, we want to kill that before they have 8 mana, but we can spend our time until then. Just play a 3 toughness card against the 2 toughness attacker, or 2 power attacker. Green, blue, white from our opponent. They've got a Sammy's Curiosity as well, so a lot of lander tokens. So they could be on 5 color potentially, playing cards like the Survey Mechan. Alright, again, we are going to depressurize the Engineer eventually. I think I'm just playing another Brood Tender for now, though. Alright, Self-Craft Mechan, sacks a lander, puts a counter... Sorry, the commentary's a little rough. Self-Craft Mechan, sacks a lander, puts ++1 counter on Engineer, draws the card. I'm gonna kill the Engineer now, just so they don't make it any bigger and make it survive that, potentially. We are missing some lands here, which is awkward. Voidforge Titan hits the board. We have hit our 4th land now, which we could Warp Harmonizer in and then send in a 4-power Brood Tender. I also kind of need to be able to block. I'm taking 8 damage. Flop this thing out. Pass through. This is looking pretty bad. We have a really big gap before we get to our 7 drops, and until then, our opponent is ahead on board in a position where they can start attacking pretty freely, potentially, if they have like a removal spell for this Might Form Harmonizer. So we just try to clump things up, hopefully draw land to just keep reanimating the Harmonizer. Take 8. Survey Mechan, they're 1 color away from activating now. Missed the land, but we hit Curiosity. Gonna have to start chumping. I think they got us. Don't even think we warp. On the plus side, I can take a little break after this game, drink some more water, and hopefully be a little bit more in it and focused for the next one. Oh yeah, we're just dead on board. Off of the Mechanozoa plus Lost in Space. All right, GG, good stuff from opponent. That is 5-2, heading into round number 8. All right, here we are back recharged and refreshed, hopefully, for game number 8. We are 5-2 right now. So any more losses and we're out of the event, but no matter what, we're leaving with some solid prize out, leaving with more than we paid to enter. We got to play a completely different deck from the first draft, completely different colors. So I'm happy with kind of anything here, but if we win this game, we get to keep going a little while longer, and that would be cool. They can have a 4/3 because we have a Death Toucher to trade into it. Not going to give them the landers. Intimidator is a really strong card because either option you choose, your opponent gets very good value. But generally speaking, the 4/3 is a little bit less impactful in the long run than giving them 2 additional lands this early. They got Invasive Maneuvers for the Ostia Harmonist. Fair enough. Hole Carver's doing its job. That 4/3 Intimidator has not done anything all game. There's a Gene Pollinator, Mana Fixer. Diplomatic Relations is the draw. I could kill Intimidator, but I don't really need to. I'm fine booping the Gene Pollinator to keep them from casting anything too big. They could have their own 7-mana plays like the Nebula Dragons that we've got waiting for later. All right, 1 land away from us to start doing our big stuff, but probably the same for our opponent. Yeah, we're literally just both sitting here waiting for land number 7, I think. This is going to be an insane endgame. We'll just see who has the biggest stuff. It's probably them with this many cards in their hand. I've only got the 2 7-drops. Maybe they've got a board wipe in hand. That's a possibility too. Could be a bunch of removal, but they don't need to kill these if I can attack through the Intimidator anyway. cut propulsion, kill the flyer. It might just be a stacker removal. The little guys will get in that case. Terra Botanist, just a 2/3. Nebula Dragon, that one. Very nice 2-for-1s here. Kill a creature, make them spend a removal spell. Kill a creature, make them spend a removal spell. And that's the victory. 6-2 it is. We've made it all the way to the final battle with this deck. Whether we win or lose, this will be the final game of Magic for today. All right, here we are for the final boss. Whether we win or lose, this will be the final game of Magic for today. It is game number 9 at 6-2. The precipice of a trophy run. Or so close, but no cigar. We are on the play here. Opponent starts with a Hole Carver of their own. Jinx, they owe me a soda. What do we mill off of the Brood Tender? Land, creature, Brood Tender. Technically, I could Brood Tender a Brood Tender to Brood Tender my Brood Tender, and then Brood Tender a Brood Tender. If I just want to keep milling myself and I have the manas. But it's probably better to just bring back a beefy 4/4 or something. For now, we're holding our opponent off decently well. They've got a Hole Carver and an Ore Plate Pangolin, which can get +1/+1 counters on itself if they have the extra mana, but they don't. It's just a 2/2 and it can't attack through the 2/3. Here's an Ice Cave Crasher. We do need to find a lander token for this Nebula Dragon, or it's going to be sitting in our hand forever. Mountains work as well. If you add up all of our mountains and lander tokens, there's probably like 6 or 7 sources of red. Playing against Rakdos. They do have the Depressurize for the Brood Tender right before we could sacrifice it and reanimate something. Sad day. Their Turbo Drone just gives +1/+1 to something every turn. Yeah, that's not that bad. The haste is a little scary once they get to higher mana values. But their current board doesn't do much. Godmaw's a very strong card. Not super duper right now, but it is. Let's get the Hole Carver out of the way. Am I okay with that? Probably not. It's probably better to just leave up the big blocker for now and keep their damage off of us. Alright, well. I mean, we're 1 mana off from Godmaw now. Although they almost definitely have removal for Godmaw at this point. Would really, really like to hit the red for Nebula Dragon, because that's got an excellent enter effect. And leaves behind a big enough, scary enough creature that they'll want to blow that up as well. Spend the removal on that, and they don't have the removal for the Godmaw at that point. Death Toucher's gone, and there's the Void Forged Titan. That's going to be a problem. Because it's a card engine that's too big for me to deal with. Alright, we're drawing nothing but forests. We don't really have a choice but to run out the Godmaw. Potentially have it killed here before it does anything. Perigi Beckoner. Buff the Titan. Yikes. Oh, and Turbo Drone with Void cards is really nice. They can, or with Warp cards is really nice because they can haste them for... Well, I guess... No, that makes sense. I'm dumb. I'm the dumb one. If they buffed the Beckoner, it'd still just be a 5/6 attacking into a 6/6. So if they don't have another trick, then yeah, they can't even haste the Warp card. Normally, you can haste the Warp cards and do some stuff with them, but I have beef. I have beef that is too beefy. There we go. There is a Tragic Trajectory to kill the Titan here, which is lovely. We need to Void to be able to cast this. Technically, I should have still done it main phase 2. Are they low enough on life here that I kill the Hole Carver instead? So that I can bash? Probably not, but that kind of feels like my best bet at victory here. If I just kill Void Forged Tyrant, The only thing they can attack with is the Hole Carver, and I'm at 12. They could haste out a Beckner and buff itself up. No, it doesn't buff itself. So they buff a 4 power creature, make it 5 off of Turbo Drone. I think I can play the long game here. I mean, how well does the quick game go? Kill that. 2 blockers. 7, 11, boom. I think I'm playing the long game here. I don't mind trading the Crasher for the Hole Carver, I think. Still trample over. Still keep the God Moss so I can haste the Nebula Dragon next turn. But I don't think we get to send in both. There's Beckoner. I think really our biggest concern is if they find a removal spell. If they don't, we're in a solid spot. If they do, we could just die out of nowhere. Are they going to sack the card for the 6 power lifelink hit? Did they draw a removal spell or combat trick? That would be pretty brutal here. I don't think I can afford to not block, right? Because they're dealing 11 damage, so any combat trick or burn spell kills me. Any combat trick or burn spell kills my Godmaw too. So either way, I'm losing something valuable. But technically our life is slightly more valuable. Okay, that wasn't that bad at all. It was just depressurize. Here's the Nebula Dragon. I've got 2 blockers up while still hasting in. But let's see, this is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's not lethal because they had the lifelink. I was just trying to see if I shot their face, would it be enough damage? No, they'd go to 4. It's a tremendously close final game of Magic here. 1 card left in their hand. They did have a Bombard for the Nebula Dragon. The other card's a Haster. That's really bad. But not lethal. Oh, I still don't have double black somehow. Oh, that's really gnarly. Then we have to pass. Like, without Vigilance, we have to pass. Getting a combat on your turn, somebody gets +1/+0 on first strike. If they move to combat and give +1 power to the Turbo Drone, I'm dead. No, then I grav kill the Beckoner. So I'm getting them to tap more of their creatures, so maybe they're slightly more likely to die this way. Especially if they go like that, so I can get a 2 kill. Beautiful. There is the Osteoharmonist mana, and we force a chump because 7 power. They go to 2. If I had double black, they would have been dead that turn, because I could have played the Harmonist and gave it haste. But that was still an excellent turn. Fire Speedle, no cards in hand, and that's game! Oh my god, what a close final game of Magic. That was such a back and forth, but we got another 7-win trophy run under our belt here. 2 trophy runs in Edge of Eternities in a row with 2 very different decks. Completely different colors. Very fun stuff from the Golgari Reanimate deck here, as well as just a bit of a Lander token ramp deck. Those Nebula Dragons were pretty sweet. Being able to splash them in off of Lander tokens is always quite a bit of fun. Those are solid ways to stabilize and played pretty well, pretty consistently, so I love the double Nebula Dragon, even in the pretty focused green-black deck. Just a minor splash to add those in was awesome. Glacier Godmaw was the most important card, I think. The most incredible card in this deck, but the Brood Tenders were a lot of fun and pretty powerful as well. Just a lot of great stuff going on in this deck. A solid amount of removal, solid amount of good creatures and synergy with the self-mill stuff. Good amount of ramp, just a little bit of everything that carries this deck to a full trophy run today for the maximum prize out. 2,200 gems and 6 packs of Edge of Eternities. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. And other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.